The United and Stormwind expansion is arriving today, and there's a ton of new stuff to experiment with. If you opened one of the quest lines, want to play a Diamond Darkbishop Benedictus, or Varian King of Stormwind, or you're looking for an interesting way to play Lady Prestor, we've got some fun builds you can try out. In this video, we're introducing 13 decks, one for each quest line, and one for each of the major legendaries we just mentioned. Now, before we hop into the decks, I should note that there are timestamps and deck codes for each deck mentioned in the description below. Also, since most of the games and decks we feature on this channel are off-meta or meme decks, each deck has a bit of a twist inside it that will most likely make it a little less powerful than a meta build with the featured card, but opens the door for some really fun alternate playstyles or win conditions. For example, the first deck in today's video is this Youthful Juggernaut Warrior. It takes a less aggressive stance with the pirates in the deck, but asks the question, why should we stop at one Juggernaut from the questline rewards? So this deck has a healthy helping of pirates to complete the Raid the Docks questline fairly consistently. But as we're not necessarily aiming to overwhelm our opponent quickly with pirates alone, we included the Cargo Guard, Circus Amalgam, and Scrap Golem to buy us a little bit more time to complete the questline and whittle down the opponent with Juggernaut's cannons. Ringmaster Watley could hit a pirate and 2 amalgams, but we've also got Scrap Golems as mechs and Tent Trasher with Alexstrasza as dragons in case we've drawn others first. The Outrider's Axe will get pulled into hand as a reward for completing the first step of the questline, and a Bloodsail deckhand or 2 will make equipping it a little smoother so we can keep cycling quickly. Stage Dive and Cutting Class are also quite happy to keep the deck cycling as well. Now, we can drop the pirates pretty quickly, but playing 8 of them out there isn't likely to happen until turn 6 or later. So by the time we get Captain Rokara in hand, we'll probably have 7 mana or more. And that means we can play Rokara and bounce her with Youthful Brewmaster for a follow-up turn to summon an additional Juggernaut. Excessive? Probably. Fun? Definitely. So that's our take on raiding the docks. Next up, we've got this Seed of the Fireblade Warlock. Since Flame Imp and Bloodbound Imp will likely be staples in any Demon Seed Warlock deck, and we're running Stealer of Souls to speed things up as well, we decided to include Menagerie as one of several ways to heal back up from all the damage we're taking. A really interesting interaction with a Bloodbound Imp that manages to stick on the board and Menagerie will be that it will heal us back up for the 2 damage we take when he attacks due to the lifesteal effect. And we'll still heal for the 5 attack he'll have running into something. If we can pair Stealer of Souls with Backfire, it'll be possible to draw a lot of cards all at once and either complete the questline really quickly or use the questline reward from Blightborn Tamsin to burn our opponent down even faster. Cornelius Rome makes the cut in the deck as another draw engine to help us get to fatigue faster, as fatigue damage will also transfer to the opponent thanks to Blightborn Tamsin. In addition to Menagerie, we've got healing from Touch of the Nathrazim, Drain Soul, Bloodshard Bristleback, and even Spice Bread Baker to help us keep alive long enough through all of this self-damage we'll be dealing. We're running as many sources of healing and self-damage as possible because although Altar of Fire and Soul Rend will get us to fatigue faster, they also end up deleting our tools to keep things going. Now, one inclusion that's almost certainly completely unnecessary, but we wanted to include him in here to finally get real value, is Niru Fireblade. With the questline reward, cycling through the deck like mad to make Niru active doesn't feel as punishing, since the fatigue is going to our opponent. And Niru's portal is providing an alternate point of pressure on the opponent. Fatigue damage will most likely already be enough to close out most games quickly, but we wanted to spice things up a bit. And not just with Spice Bread Baker. Anyways, let's move on. For the Shaman questline, we've got this Command the Spirits Shaman deck. To complete this one, you have to play a total of 8 cards with Overload. So we've got a healthy helping of Overload and Overload synergy cards in the deck, including our twist on things that most likely won't be in meta decks, Spirit Alpha. Spirit Alpha will allow us to provide a little extra presence and pressure on the board while we work on the final stages of the questline. We really wanted to include Investment Opportunity and Overdraft in the deck since they work so well with this archetype. So we did. While there is a risk of drawing one of them from Primal Dungeoneer, 11 out of 15 spells in the deck, other than the questline which starts in your opening hand, are nature spells. So most of the time you'll be drawing a Cage Match Custodian or Canal Slogger as well. But if she draws Investment Opportunity, you'll be drawing another targeted card anyways. And Overdraft can be traded into the deck for another card if you don't need it now. So you just pay one more mana to draw the second card with Primal Dungeoneer in those cases. Diligent Note Taker is here to help give more cards for completing the questline, additional burn spells after Stormcaller Brucon comes down, or ridiculous extra board pressure from Charged Call later on. A straight up burn shaman taking Rockbiter weapons and dunk tanks instead of Charged Call and Spirit Alpha will probably be able to close out games faster, but we really wanted to experiment with these new cards, so they make the cut in our build of Command the Elements Shaman. Have fun zapping your opponents to death. Now on to the most flavorful of the questlines. Find the Imposter. I love this one, even if many of the SI7 cards do look like they'll feel a little awkward to play. This deck mostly built itself as we wanted to play all of the SI7 cards, except SI7 Infiltrator, who feels way too situational. And we wanted to include Shadow Step and Tenwu to balance Spymaster Scabs for additional Spy Gizmo value. The rest of the deck is support for a field contact draw engine and ways to fight for the board while we complete the questline. However, we did make one very peculiar inclusion in the deck, which has potential to take games in a very wacky direction. Faceless Manipulator. As other classes are experimenting with their questlines, it won't be too difficult to play Faceless Manipulator to copy their mercenary and bounce it back into hand so that your dagger running into minions becomes a win condition against Warlock, you summon your own Juggernaut against warriors, you get your own Guff the Tough against druids, or you can use your Superior Cycle to get the Purified Shard against priests. Sadly, we're not running direct damage spells in this build, so Dawn Grasp and Brucon won't be as exciting for us to steal unless the Undercover Mole gets us an interesting spell or two. And yes, you can copy the opponent's mercenary much more easily with Vanessa Van Cleef as long as their mercenary was the last card played on their turn. So there are a number of rabbit holes we can dive down depending on the matchup. Have fun manipulating the Imposter with this deck. Next up, we have Priest's questline, Seek Guidance. The deck we built for this one is this Primordial Purification Priest. It uses a Menagerie package alongside N'Zoth for an alternate win condition in case you face a Tocatus Warlock or some other method of defiling your purification ritual. There's a minion at each of the questline requirement costs, so you've got backups in case your palm reading discounts a spell out of the mana cost you're looking for. And there are 3 methods to help you get the Purified Shard into hand quickly after questline completion. You may be able to draw it immediately with Thrive in the Shadows. You can put it at the top of your deck with Lorekeeper Polkelt, or you can pull it from your deck with Primordial Protector. Primordial Protector does have some counter synergy with Light Shower Elemental coming back from N'Zoth, so it may get cut in later builds, but we wanted to try it out for now. Also, with the potential of Soul Mirror getting discounted below 7 mana and Mutanus' tendency to hide at the bottom of decks, we did include one more backup in the form of Reliquary Prime coming off of Reliquary of Souls. This deck has a ton of healing and stall bundled into it, so it should prove difficult for most opponents to kill you as long as you're able to keep a decent curve. Though Lorekeeper Polkelt can be played before completion to help you find your 7 and 8 drops if the final stage is taking too long. One potential concern for Cornelius is that he may be too much card draw, since we do have a little higher average of card cost than most decks. If he proves to be too much, you could consider swapping the Dragon Maul Skystalker in his place. Best of luck guiding your opponent to their demise. Paladin is the first class we went all in on a questionable mix of archetypes. Of course, this is a Questline deck running a lot of one-cost cards alongside Rise to the Occasion, but we chose to merge the Recruit synergies with some of the Divine Shield synergies coming to Paladin. This Rise of the Shields Paladin has Penflinger alongside a few cheap spells to knock out the questline faster, though Penflinger himself will only count once per stage of the questline because they have to be different 1-mana cards, so keep that in mind while you're playing through this. But the real peculiarities begin with the Prismatic Jewel Kit, which will buff your minions every time one of your minions loses Divine Shield, losing a durability each time. This is a 1-mana card, which helps the questline along, and Righteous Protector is a great way to start the Divine Shield value train. With Goody 2 Shields as a nice follow-up, the real value comes when you're able to play Lothraxion the Redeemed, and all your dudes have Divine Shield. If you stick a couple Divine Shield dudes to the board for a turn and drop High Lord 4-Dragon onto the board, you can buff a minion in hand to have astronomically high stats. So you'll be able to go wide with sizable dudes and tall with a super buffed minion or two. Also, if you draw Blessed Goods after the questline is complete, it can give you another Divine Shield minion, including High Lord 4-Dragon if you high roll, to continue the synergies with the Divine Shield package. Youthful Brewmaster is in the deck to bounce Lightborn Carriel in control matchups where even bigger dudes may be necessary to take down the opponent. But he won't feel bad bouncing a Knight of Anointment earlier in the game to cycle through the deck a bit faster against aggro opponents. This is a peculiar mix of synergies, so I'm not sure how it'll perform till we get a chance to test it out, but it could turn out to be surprisingly good. Perhaps it will rise to the occasion? We'll see. For Mage's questline, we wanted to capitalize on the impressive spell discounts and card draw potential available to no minion mage so that we could cycle through the deck quickly and get to an endgame where we're casting ever-increasing ignites buffed by Arcanist Dawngrasp's persistent spell damage buff. However, we are running one minion in the deck, Grand Magus Antonidas. With First Flame giving us 2 fire spells in 1, the high rate of cycle through the deck, the option of taking a fire spell as a reward at the end of the second stage of the questline, and the infinite loop of ignites available once we get through the deck, it actually shouldn't be too difficult to meet Antonidas' Battlecry condition. Is he necessary? Probably not. But he'll be fun to toss out there. If he proves too awkward for the payoff, you can probably just drop him and a Hot Streak or a Rigged Fair game for a couple Apexis Blasts. But this will probably be a decent deck for him to complete the Not the Face achievement, where you have to play Antonidas and have all 3 fireballs hit the opposing hero and destroy them. So you might consider keeping him around till you complete the achievement at least. Good luck pulling off your own Sorcerer's Gambit. Looking at various card reviews, Hunter's questline, Defend the Dwarven District, is likely to be one of the strongest, and it will slot into Face Hunter quite nicely with a few minor modifications to include a couple more low-cost spells. That would probably be a smart direction to go with the Hunter questline. Yeah, we didn't do that. Our Defend the Truth Hunter takes a 180 from the Face Hunter direction most decks will likely go, and uses all the insane amounts of damage that can be done with the upgraded hero power to control the board and buy us time to summon and kill off 7 Elwind Boars. Why? Because we're after the elusive Sword of 1,000 Truths. To help us summon and kill off additional Elwind Boars, there are a number of support cards, Northshire Farmer and Dire Frenzy to shuffle additional copies into our deck, Jewel of N'Zoth to summon additional copies on board, Terran Gorefiend to kill off and summon additional copies, and Animated Broomsticks to rush them and kill them off right away. Scavenger's Ingenuity and Warsong Wrangler will help us pull the original or shuffled copies from our deck a bit more consistently, and Tracking may help us catch one more while refreshing our 0 mana hero power. Now, will this be a good deck? Almost certainly not. But will it be insanely fun to thwart our opponent's expectations and delete all their mana crystals with the Sword of 1,000 Truths? Oh yeah, let's go. Next up is Druid with the Lost in the Park questline. For this one, we have to gain 4, 5, and 6 attack with our hero for Guff the Tough as a reward. Guff the Tough has Taunt, which means that if we play him with Mark of the Spike Shell, we can immediately get another copy of him in our hand. That's amazing, but we decided to take things in a bit of a wacky direction with this Guff just keeps going Druid deck. What if the first Guff we play on the board were to come back with help from Plague Maul the Rotting? And what if we were to give him Taunt again with Ironbark? We decided to stick the cards which help complete the questline, Pounce, Feral Rage, Moon-Touched Amulet, and Park Panther, into the lower end of a deck we experimented with last expansion, Teaching N'Zoth Taunt. It was a deck where we used Ironbark alongside Lightning Bloom and Mark of the Spike Shell to get an additional copy of N'Zoth back in hand after N'Zoth summoned us a nice board of taunts to hide behind. There are fewer taunts in this list, but they will buy us time to draw into the cards necessary to complete this questline. And N'Zoth might bring us back another Guff, though Park Panther could come back instead. However, much like Faceless Manipulator in Rogue, one reason we're eager to run the Ironbark Mark of the Spike Shell combo is to get a copy of our opponent's questline reward in hand. If we have 7 mana or more, we can give their mercenary taunt, copy it with Mark of the Spike Shell, and play it out immediately. Is that a suicidal play that transformed their 7/7 into a 10/12? Maybe. But if we're hiding behind a wall of taunts, we might just be okay and get to turn the tables on them with their own questline reward. It's not something we'll want to do most games, but it's an interesting direction we can go for a few games. Have fun getting lost in the possibilities. And the last class is Demon Hunter. Fitting that the questline name is Final Showdown. But actually, our goal with the deck we built is to give Cthulhu an Encore. Cthulhu's Showdown Encore Demon Hunter is a deck we built with the express purpose of cycling through the deck hard to complete the questline while staying alive thanks to Soul Fragment synergies and the pieces of Cthulhu. Once we play Demon Hunter Cartreuse, the Cthulhu we shuffle into our deck and draw will only cost 8 mana, meaning we'll have no problem bouncing Cthulhu back into our hand for an Encore performance with Youthful Brewmaster. Even with sizable boards, most opponents will melt if we can deal 60 damage to them across 2 turns. There's not really much more to say for this one, other than that we really did want to include Keymaster Alabaster to pair with the glides. But he felt a little too slow and heavy for what we're trying to do with this deck. However, we'll certainly be experimenting with shenanigans like that in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out. And that was the last of the Day 1 decks for the questlines. But there are still some really cool legendaries you may want to play with as soon as possible, especially if you have them in Diamond. This first deck is our spin on Darkbishop Benedictus. Again, most people are probably planning to play Benedictus in an aggressive, burn style of priest, and that'll be fun, but we decided to go in a different direction. Benedictus's Shadow Menagerie meshes the minions from Menagerie Priest with the control side of Shadow spells so that we can whittle down opponents with a mix of hero power shots and a sizable board. There's a surprising amount of healing available even without discovering any holy spells, but Pandaren Importer and Venomous Scorpid alongside Palm Reading do open the door for us to discover additional resources. Will Benedictus be the new face of Control Menagerie Priest? Only time will tell, but we'll be embracing the shadow with this deck on day 1. And the other diamond card it'll be possible to collect is Varian, King of Stormwind. Varian will most likely find a home in Paladin with all their wide array of Divine Shield minions, and Warrior will probably have a few good options for him. However, once again, we decided to subvert expectations and toss Varian into a different class, Priest. Which is actually kind of funny because anyone who watches much of our content will know I haven't liked Priest for quite some time, and I don't play the class much at all. And yet, Priest has the most decks we're suggesting this time. Anyways, we decided to include Varian and Priest because they can get decent value out of Dark Moon Dirigible, which can serve as the 2nd and 3rd Divine Shield minions after Talon Forging in the deck to give Varian full value. Now, the corruption of Varian uses a corrupt Priest deck from HS Replay as a base. Actually, no. Normally we end up swapping out 6 or more cards to make our own variation on a deck, but this package fit Varian and what he's doing so well, all we ended up doing was dropping a Draconic Studies for him. That's it. Will the additional card draw and burst of pressure Varian can generate help the deck reach over a 50% win rate? It had a 48% win rate, and Varian likely has a stronger impact than most dragons, even discounted by 1, so it's entirely possible. Whatever the case, this will be an interesting deck to slot Varian into and give him a spin. Finally, we come to a deck built around getting value from the legendary minion everyone will get for free, Lady Prestor. This Lady Prestor's Discipline Warlock takes Lady Prestor's effect into account, not just to get her value on low-cost minions, but it also strives to get dragons with excellent stats for the cost. That's why cards like Lakari Fellhound and Humongous Razorleaf make the cut alongside nicely statted minions like Flame Imp and Bloodbound Imp. To buy time until we can play Lady Prestor, we took a Zoo Warlock shell that capitalizes on the self-damage from the early minions by running the Demon Seed as well. One issue with counting on value from a legendary is that it might cower at the bottom of your deck. To improve the chances of getting Lady Prestor in a timely manner, we've got Lorekeeper Polkelt to help. If we want, we can use shards from Spirit Jailer to reshuffle the deck after playing Prestor, so that we can have a better chance of drawing the Desk Imp and Murloc Tiny Fins that became dragons. There's an achievement to play a 0-mana legendary dragon this could help complete if you don't want to do it with Dragon Queen Alexstrasza in Wild. And if we draw Humongous Razorleaf before Lady Prestor, it would usually be a dead pile of stats to drop onto the board. But we have Disciplinarian Gandling as a backup to transform Razorleaf and any tiny minions we drew into actual threats for the opponent to deal with. And if undercosted dragons and Zeus energies aren't enough to kill the opponent off, the converted damage from the Demon Seed will. There's check and mate. We'll have to play it and see how it feels, but I'm excited about the potential. We'll find out how well it works very soon. And that's it for the day 1 suggested decks. We'll actually begin experimenting with these this evening during our stream at twitch.tv/SSAlchemist, which will start at 6 p.m. Eastern. So come join us if you'd like to see these in action, or share your own day 1 stories with chat and me. But yeah, that's it this time. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to tap that like button, smash that subscribe button, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We release videos here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. As mentioned, we'll be streaming tonight at twitch.tv/SSAlchemist. Our scheduled streams are on Saturdays and Sundays. There's a link to our Discord server in the description as well if you'd like to check it out. And remember, you're awesome. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day.